8 teams remain as postseason soccer has arrived. Ball State seeks its first tournament title in program history, while 8th-seeded Northern Illinois looks to bust the bracket. A look at a nebulous Muncie. We're at Briner Sports Complex for the opening round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament, pitting number 1 Ball State against number 8 Northern Illinois. A riveting regular season saw 10 teams on the final day of the regular season have a chance to get into the tournament. Here are the 8 that have a chance for the NCAA automatic berth in the Mid-American Conference. Welcome in, everybody. Rain flying into our broadcast booth. Hope you're dry at home. Mick Tidrow alongside Connor Onion. Mick, this is what you worked for all season long. A chance to get into the NCAA tournament starts today.
And Ball State, especially after last year losing to the 8th seed in Akron, Northern Illinois, has that chance to play spoiler once again. Ball State playing on their toes today.
And Ball State has been terrific the past 2 seasons at home. Advantage them, you would assume.
Head coach Craig Roberts has put his team on the map, especially at home. They don't lose at home very often. They haven't this year. Northern Illinois struggles on the road, so a matchup to favor with Ball State.
If Northern Illinois wants to play spoiler, it likely starts with Taylor Sarver up top.
6 goals on the season for Sarver. She's dominant, she gets behind defenders, she's quick, and she's somebody that the Ball State defense has to watch each and every moment of the game.
Ball State Northern Illinois played on October 9th in DeKalb. Ball State won 2-0, and Sam Campbell had one of the 2 goals for the Cardinals.
5 goals total for the freshman on Ball State squad. She's been able to come off the bench and make an immediate impact no matter where she's at the field. She has to get past the defender. She's like Sarver in a sense. She's quick, she's speedy. Ball State can use her.
Ball State and Northern Illinois looking for a berth into the semifinals in the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Kickoff is next. Back out at Briner Sports Complex, 63 degrees and cloudy for the opening round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament between Ball State and number 8 Northern Illinois. Connor Onion and Mick Tidrow back with you as we're about set for kickoff between these 2 clubs. Looking at the starting lineups for both of these teams, first for Northern Illinois, they bring in their same starting lineup as they had pretty much the entire season, Mick, with one difference. That's the goalkeeper, Mackenzie Lee, replacing Amy Anila.
That's a change that Northern Illinois has to be a little bit worried about just because of the change so close to the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Lee comes in, she has experience mixed in. She's watched from her teammates. She knows what she can do for Northern Illinois. That is a challenge, especially against an offensive attack like Ball State, so she has her work cut out for her. But the defense for the Northern Illinois has to help her out on the offensive attack by Ball State.
And all season long, it's been tough to get a feel for who will be in the starting 11 for Ball State. Some more changes here today for the Cardinals, especially in the midfield.
Peyton Cook gets the start alongside with Lorena White, Lauren Roll getting those starts once again. Cook hasn't started most of the matches for Ball State this season, but head coach Craig Roberts has loved what he's seen from Cook, especially of late. She's in the starting lineup. She can make an impact from the first part of this game.
Ball State has gone with the 4-5-1 throughout much of the season. Craig Roberts is the head coach for the Ball State Cardinals. He became the winningest coach in program history a couple of weekends ago. He looks to cap it off with a 3-game run here to a Mid-American Conference title. It would be the first in program history.
He's been so instrumental for Ball State since he came to the Cardinals and has led this team to where they are now, back-to-back regular season Mid-American Conference champions, but this is the year he wants to put it all together, and they have a chance to do that and start it against Northern Illinois.
John Ross is on the Northern Illinois sidelines. He's in his 5th year looking to elevate Northern Illinois to the semifinals for the 2nd time in his tenure. They were there in 2014 after missing the tournament last season.
Northern Illinois trying to get over the hump. They're the number 8 seed here today. They don't have a lot of pressure. It's the 8 seed versus the 1 seed. Akron did it against Ball State last year. Northern Illinois in a similar position. The pressure not so much on them here today.
And it wasn't on Akron last year when they came in here to Briner Sports Complex, and Coach Ross said he didn't reference that at all. It's a new Ball State team. Ball State has a new mentality of we're not letting that happen again, and they hope to move on to the semifinals for the first time in 2 seasons. Northern Illinois has struggled of late. They've gone 7 matches without a victory dating back to October 2nd. 5 losses and 2 ties in that stretch.
It plays in large part here today because Ball State is almost on the other side of the spectrum. Their only loss in their last near 10 matches has come against Ohio. So this is a Ball State team that's on one end, Northern Illinois on the other. But the Huskies have also kept so many of those matches close, they haven't been blown out by any stretch of the imagination.
A lot on the line, of course, today for the Ball State seniors. With a win, they can tie the class of 2007 for the most wins by a senior class in Ball State history. And now that postseason has come, some nerves. This could be the last game that you play in your soccer career.
Leah Mattingly has talked so much about just staying within themselves because they know what they can do. This is a senior class that saw the heartbreak last year, but they moved on from that. They've taken that, put it to the side, and they say this is a new year, this is a new chance, and they've certainly shown that throughout this year.
And they feel that despite losing 10 players from a season ago, they're even better from that team that lost to Akron in the first round. Early free kick for Northern Illinois. Natalie Yaz to take it in the central midfield. Yaz, one of 2 freshmen at center mid that have started the entirety of the season. Of course, that's an integral position, the glue to the formation, and they've trusted 2 rookies at that position this season. Here's her play in. Heinchel lets it go out for a goal kick. That's a tall task. 2 freshmen in the center midfield, and perhaps part of the reason that Northern Illinois has struggled here late in the season.
But Yaz has brought in some of that aggressiveness as a freshman. She delivers every pass with a very calculated touch. She knows how to play that center. She can move it really well around the midfield, so that's something to keep an eye on today. If Northern Illinois can possess in midfield, and that's where Ball State excels, it's something to keep an eye on today.
John Ross characterized Yaz as a connector in the midfield. Asked him why they would go with 2 freshmen at such an important position. He said, simply put, they're the best we have. Doesn't matter about age, especially at this juncture of the season.
Not to mention, this is a young team. 8 freshmen on the squad for Northern Illinois. They do have the youngsters, but they have played to a position to play. They haven't regressed. They've improved each and every game, and so that's why he trusts his young group.
We were here on E3 a couple weeks ago. Similar conditions, wet, and we saw that definitely play a factor in the Toledo win for Ball State. Emily Scott scored a goal that slipped through the hands of Katie Wilson, Toledo's keeper. Advantage to either team today.
Northern Illinois has played in these conditions as well throughout the course of the season, namely Toledo a couple of weeks ago. They lost in double overtime, a heartbreaking loss, but at the same juncture, Northern Illinois, they do have that experience. They also love to play on the turf. They're a team that can play in the rain and in the turf. It doesn't, either way it goes, the advantage doesn't seem to lie with one team because they both have played well in the rain.
Yeah, they played Kent State a few weeks ago, the number 2 seed in this tournament, and had to move locations. Kent State, a grass field, and it was under 6 inches of water. McNitt in the midfield for Ball State. White, with her aggressive nature, looks to start the first attack for Ball State. Through ball to Roll. And Naylor is there to clear for Northern Illinois. Different look with Peyton Cook in the midfield for the Cardinals. We've seen a revolving door, especially on the, or rather in the central midfield for Ball State. It's Fistrovich and Cook, along with Elfbo getting the call up top for Ball State.
And Greg Roberts has felt so comfortable with those 3. They haven't started a lot, or they didn't start a lot at the start of the season, but then as the season's gone on, they've progressed, and he likes the way that they bring the energy, the effort to the field. And against Northern Illinois, he feels like this is the best chance to get started against the defense.
Physical challenge won by Pooley. And there's Velbin on the left flank with a brace on her right knee. Her strong leg is her left foot, but saw in the win against Miami on Thursday favoring that right side a little bit.
That could play a factor, especially with the rainy conditions, the turf being a little bit slippery, having a harder time finding her footing to plant that right leg and drive with her left foot.
Cook with a touch. Roll with a through ball on for Elbow, shot low and off the mark. Clever pass from Lauren Roll nearly sets up Elbow for the first opportunity for Ball State. Can't put it on frame.
And that's where Northern Illinois has to be careful because the through balls by Ball State are so calculated, especially Lorena White, Peyton Cook. They've been able to get those passes in, and that's where Northern Illinois struggles on that back line when a team is pushing.
See the pace of the turf with the rain that was in just before kick. We talk about having a calculated touch, even more important today with those slick conditions. Free kick to be taken by Mattingly for Ball State. Very interesting to hear Coach Ross talk about his team being a turf team, because typically in soccer you like to play on grass more because of that more controlled touch. But that leads you to believe that his team likes to play a little bit more directly.
They have so far this year, and that's why Taylor Sarver's been so successful. She gets out in space, she runs, and that's why she's been able to score.
Elbow low cross in, saved by Lee. So Lee challenged a couple of times here early on after 34 shots for Ball State against Miami. Remarkable on Thursday. And a rookie goalkeeper back there, you'd expect them to get the ball on frame as much as possible today.
And so far they've already pressured the Northern Illinois defense. That's where Ball State will look to continue to push to, in that exact same spot, work the far side of the field, because that's where Northern Illinois' defense tends to break down.
It is kind of a melting pot on the back line for Northern Illinois. Two veteran players in Natalia Pena and Alex Elias, and then two freshmen, Jennifer Naylor and Lauren Willis. Elias and Pena have played together for 3 years. Elias with the clear there. She's been a 4-year starter. Pena is a junior, a 3-year starter. Here's Yaz looking to switch the field.
That's part of the reason Northern Illinois' defense has only given up 22 goals this year. That's mid inside the Mid-American Conference, so they haven't been at the top or the bottom on the defensive side. They've been smack dab in the middle, and that's what's kept them in so many matches. It's the offense and their inability to push and create scoring chances.
Cook trying to break out for Roll. Touches it up for a Northern Illinois throw. This, of course, one of 4 Mid-American Conference games today with the opening round of the tournament, and Ball State wins. They get to host the semifinals and the final as the top seed. And if the seeding stays true, you have Kent State, Central Michigan as the 2 and 3 seed, teams that Ball State has gone down to the wire with. Tied Central Michigan, beat Kent State in overtime, and then Western Michigan, last year's champion, as the 4 seed. Be a pretty fun semifinal. A lot of intriguing storylines if the seedings do remain the way that they're etched up to be.
Not to mention how almost all of those teams match up well against each other. Western Michigan was Ball State's best game, a 2-0 win for Ball State here at Bryner Sports Complex, and the other 2 teams gave them a little bit more of a run for their money, but all 4 of those teams right neck and neck all season long.
McNitt to Mattingly. Feldman left flank. And a physical challenge from Willis on the right side for Northern Illinois. And just outside the 18 on the angle, Ball State with a set piece. Seen them be dangerous time and time again on these set pieces.
And it's been the tandem of Mattingly and Veldman on these set pieces. They get it in, they put it in the perfect position. It seems Julia Elbow's always in that position, or Lorena White. White playing back this time, so Elbow has a chance here.
Ball State loads the back post. Elbow with the head on it, and it skips past the back post. Elbow's been in on the 6 twice now. Can't cash in.
Elbow was in the right position. The touch just a little bit past her. Ball State's applying that pressure on Northern Illinois. That's what Ball State does well early in games. They did it against Miami in their last match. Northern Illinois has to be cautious of that.
McNitt lays off Cook. Cook across to the 6, cleared by Elias. Now Northern on the counter. Yaz over the top. And there's Pooley. Been a great replacement for Orla Travers Gillespie at center back this season.
Pooley and Sarver going one-on-one right there. Sarver wins those one-on-one matchups most of the time, but Pooley aggressive, staying with Sarver and holding on and making sure she doesn't get past that back line and have a chance one-on-one against Alyssa Heinchel.
Speaking of aggressive, there's Fistrovich on the sliding challenge. Studs up for both players.
Ball State's not afraid to show the aggressiveness. We've seen it time and time again from Gabby Veldman, Fistrovich. They like to stay physical, and that's one reason why they get so many open opportunities down the field, and they get those runs. Lorena White's also very aggressive on the Ball State side.
No fear for Fistrovich either, a player that has dealt with injury throughout her Ball State career.
Fistrovich injured last year. Came back, played the last 5 games of the season.
Here's Roll. She's won a corner for the Cardinals.
And now is starting toward the end of the season, so how she's been able to progress has been impressive. Greg Roberts has liked the way she's been able to get healthy, to put an impact on the offense and push against these defenses.
Of course, for her, you never want to get injured, but with the loaded midfield that Ball State had a season ago, serving as a redshirt year, it was almost more beneficial for her.
She took that time, she learned from everybody on the team, and it definitely benefited her to have that time.
Feldman's cross is deflected out. We'll do it again.
Ball State had 17 corners against Miami of Ohio, so this is something that Northern Illinois can't fall into a habit against Ball State. They get these shot opportunities, they get these chances, and they're so deadly, especially with Veldman and Elbow coming out of nowhere into the middle of the field.
Feldman tries it again. Header on, and Roll is wide to the right.
That time Roll was heading toward the out-of-play spot instead of toward the goal, so the shot easily wide right of the goal.
Again, this is not the position that Northern Illinois wanted to be in heading into the tournament, having not won since early October. Of course, you hear the term peaking at the right time when it comes to the postseason and sports in general. That's the opposite of what Northern Illinois has done. They've plummeted toward the end of the season.
7 straight matches where they have not won, 5 losses, 2 ties. That plays into a factor here today, but they've stayed close in most of those matches. They haven't been blown out.
Yaz over the top. Mattingly clears with the head. Fistrovich, another strong challenge. There's Zisweiler out of the back. She had a spectacular goal against Miami on Thursday from about 30 yards out. She went up her 90.
That was her first goal in the season, normally playing on the defense for Ball State, but had a shot, and she took advantage of it. And she's a dual-way player. She mostly plays on that defensive side, but when she has the chance to push up and play offense, she's been able to show she can do that.
We've talked about the defensive prowess of Ball State in the back line, but outside of Taylor Pooley, all 3 of their players in the back line that are their regulars have scored at least 1 goal this season. So they've pushed forward in the attack too. something we certainly expected from Leah Mattingly and Lorena White. Not so sure Craig Roberts is going to ask this Weiler to push forward much, even after that goal.
Not too often she'll be asked to press forward, but when she does, she knows, and Craig Roberts now knows that she has that ability to strike from distance.
Cooley with a missed touch. Heinschel clears her line. SportsLink recently highlighted her journey as a chemistry student, 4.0. Not to mention a captain on one of the best teams in Ball State history. Not a bad 3 years for Alyssa Heinschel.
It's a difficult path with her major and trying to play soccer as a Division I athlete. That's a tough balance, but Heinschel's been able to do that, and her results on and off the field have definitely shown.
Did split time with Tristan Sudaville early on, but here late in the season, it's really been her net.
With her experience, Coach Roberts has turned to her to help lead this Ball State team down the stretch. She's only had one game where she's really not been at her best, and she's been able to bounce back from that in California. She's been consistent against Ohio. It was one of those games where the offense and defense didn't mesh together, and Ohio snuck away with one. But outside of that in conference play, she's been nearly untouchable.
Here's Veldman, cleared by Elias. 18 minutes in, we're scoreless. First round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Cook across in. Elias there to funnel it out again.
Cook just continues to look more and more comfortable in the lineup for Ball State, and there's a big-time reason why Coach Roberts has relied on her now to start in the Mid-American Conference Tournament, is because she's been able to show that she can cross in passes and allow this offense to work. And Cook, a player to keep a definite eye on, and Elias as well.
So far, so good for Ball State in 2016. It's been no stranger to success in the regular season, as they capped off their second regular season title in a row on Thursday against Miami. They have had some bumps on that journey. They did lose two out in California, as I mentioned, Mick, but in conference play, outside of that loss to Ohio, it's been smooth sailing for them.
And not to mention 11 of those 19 games they played in the regular season were at home, so they had a chance to settle into a groove after California, and especially into conference play, they were able to move in and show the success. The only blemish really down the stretch was against Ohio on the road.
Yeah, that was shocking, that loss to Ohio. Ohio didn't even make it into the top 8. Bottomed out in the East Division. There's Veldman wincing in pain. Mick, we talked about the brace she's wearing on her right knee. You know she doesn't want to come out.
She's
an important part. Season.
She's an important part to this offense, the defense, and how Ball State works each and every game. They play so much through her on that left side of the offense, and that's how they're able to work their offense. And if she continues to stay in the game and work through it, Ball State has a better chance.
Another combination between elbow and roll. Those two have been very active in the middle of the field today for Ball State. Seen Elbow nearly find the back of the net twice.
Elbow does have 3 goals on the season, so she's prone to finding those opportunities, the headshots. Once she gets toward the goal, the crosses are so important to this Ball State offense. We saw the penalty chances for Ball State against Miami of Ohio. Northern Illinois can't have that happen today. Northern Illinois needs to settle in on the midfield. They have to push the ball side to side and make Ball State run back and forth, because that's when teams have shown and seen success. Play the direct offense if you must, if you're Northern Illinois, and get it through Taylor Sarver. You have to press against the Ball State defense, and especially early. We're already so far into this game, it's been all possession for Ball State. Northern Illinois hasn't pushed against this defense.
Well, just as we talk about the prowess of Lauren Roll up top, she comes off in favor of Allison Abbey. Paula Guerrero also in the central midfield for Fistrovich.
What's scary about that is Abbey and Guerrero have started so many games for Ball State this year. They started at the beginning of the year, then they went to the bench, and Craig Roberts has interchanged this roster, and now Cook inserted in there. So these two players that come on, it's almost two more starters, as is Sam Campbell, a player to watch today, and Emily Scott. They're so interchangeable, it's hard to pick a starting lineup if you're Craig Roberts because he has so many weapons.
Well, they're not subs, they're game changers, right? Super subs.
Super subs.
Sarver hasn't had much space up top so far for Northern Illinois, leading this Northern Illinois bunch with 6 goals on the season.
Four of those goals came in a span of 2 games for Sarver, so she scores in bunches, and this Northern Illinois team, out of their 11 goals on the year, 4 of them came against Central Michigan, so they score in bunches. But then in these last 7 games, they've only put together 1 goal, so it's a team, they have to find a way to score 1 goal, then they usually come rolling in.
They've been mercurial as a team overall. They beat the number 3 seed Central Michigan 4-0, and they lost to Bowling Green and Toledo, who didn't even make the tournament. It's head scratching. O'Brien applying the pressure for Northern Illinois. Feldman swarming Wooldridge, gets the cross in, head on from Sarver. Free ball at the 6, and White is there to clear. Ball State holds their breath as they clear. Northern Illinois' first real chance. Another cross in, back post run, and it's out for a goal kick.
If you're Northern Illinois, that's exactly what you want to start doing. Press up against this defense, work Sarver, play that direct offense. It works at times, and we saw that against the Central Michigan Chippewas. And here today, Ball State, it's so important to get that done for Illinois.
Northern Illinois lucky to get into the tournament. They lost to Western Michigan on Thursday, and they were the beneficiary of Bowling Green losing to last place Toledo in the I-75 rivalry. So despite going 7 matches without a win, somehow they still sneak in.
And Northern Illinois did lose to Toledo in that double overtime match a couple of weeks ago. So at that point, Northern Illinois was fighting for their playoff lives, hoping for some help. They got that help, even though they haven't won a match in their last 7 on the season.
They got the help that they didn't get last year. Tied 4 ways for the 8th seed. Of course, it was Akron that got in. Ohio, Bowling Green, Northern Illinois, and Akron, the 4 teams that were tied last year.
This year, Northern Illinois is the beneficiary of all those games that finally wiggled themselves out. There were, like you mentioned earlier, Connor, 10 teams that were in play in the last games of the season, so Northern Illinois had a chance. They squeaked in.
Lucy Walton on for the first time for the Cardinals. As a junior, one of the more experienced players. She's played just under 60 games in a Cardinal uniform.
Not to mention she scored her first career goal against Miami of Ohio in their last match.
The disparity in shots in that match, remarkable.
34 shots for Ball State, just 1 for Miami of Ohio. Northern Illinois has to avoid anything of that situation today. They've already pressed up against Ball State, unlike Miami did here so far in the first half. But you have to start to think, once Ball State settles in, Northern Illinois has to push.
Well, here at Bryner Sports Complex, you have the score as a free kick upcoming for Northern Illinois. You have the score on the top line of the scoreboard, and then you have shots below, and One fan walking into Bryner Sports Complex near halftime saw 25 shots for Ball State and just 1 for Miami. They were misled in thinking that Ball State had netted 25 goals. Still 25 shots, just as impressive. You'd think that you would score more than 2 goals, though.
And it was a testament to the Miami defense, rather, how they were able to sustain against the Ball State offensive attack. That was lethal.
Here's Lee up to take the set piece to the 18. Mattingly. Here's the freshman Naylor. And a Ball State throw. Naylor, the freshman back there at center back. Naturally a left footer, which is very rare for a defender. You see it with Mattingly, but she plays left back for Ball State. Interesting to see a center back with a dominant left foot.
It's worked out for Northern Illinois. She's just a freshman, like you mentioned, but she has brought the explosiveness. She's been able to help out this Northern Illinois team, especially in the midfield. That's where Northern Illinois has shown their strengths, and so far today they've put that on display. Naylor's been right in the middle of that all season long.
Cummings on for Northern Illinois at forward. The senior from Spring, Texas, a strong athletic forward. And the challenge won by Northern Illinois. Elfbo dives in. Get the feeling that neither of these two teams have really established themselves tactically so far here today.
And the footing with the turf, the rain, has somewhat played a factor in that, neither team finding that strength.
Back post, punched out by Heinschel. The late substitution here in the first half. Cummings nearly got ahead on it. Cerebral play from Heinschel in net.
That was an important play by the Northern Illinois defense because Ball State was on a run. The defense broke down, stopped it at midfield, knocked it out of bounds, even though Ball State now possesses. That's a major stop by this Northern Illinois defense.
And now make your player to watch Sam Campbell onto the field up top for the Cardinals.
Campbell's been so explosive all season long. She comes in during these situations where Ball State needs a spark offensively. She's in there now, no score by either team. This is when Campbell likes to shine. You have Campbell in at the same time as the offense that sets along with Allison Abbey. Abbey and Campbell work so well together on the front line, and this is when they break through.
Sisweiler steps. Kelsey Chope in the midfield for Northern Illinois. But Ball State has it one back. Guerrero shielded by Naylor. And a goal kick awarded. Intelligent defending there from Naylor, shielding off Guerrero. Guerrero has started several matches this year for Ball State, but late in the season has been utilized more off the bench.
That's played to her strength. Come in, press on the offensive side. She does have 28 shots on the season without a goal, but she does apply the pressure on defenses. They like to bring her off the bench to complement with Allison Abbey and Sam Campbell.
Here's Gregg on a run for Northern Illinois. Police steps and a Ball State goal kick. If you want to play a more possession-oriented game, Paula Guerrero is who you want in your midfield. Of course, coming over from Spain, it's a more indirect style of play over there. And it speaks to the diversity that Ball State has off their bench.
Ball State has a mix of offensive, defensive midfielders. They all play in the midfield type mindset. They can all play in the midfield if they so needed to, and so many of the defenders can play forwards. It's so interchangeable if they needed to. Leah Mattingly could play forward if they had to, but they have plenty of options.
Here's the newest addition to the Ball State lineup, Kelsey Wenlant. Ball State with a rampant rotation here in the first half. seen lots of bodies. Yeah, but Mick, you mentioned that Mattingly could push forward and play the midfield or at forward. Same could be said for Lorena White. Most of their central midfielders are capable of playing pretty much any position.
And the impressive thing is Mattingly, White, Veldman, they've all played the same positions all season long, but each of them with 3 goals apiece. And so that just puts on display that White has such good speed from one end to the other side. Veldman and Mattingly so mechanical on passes, on free kicks, long distance shots. So there's 2 ways that the defenders and the back line for Ball State can push up and help the offense.
Wendlet took a spill but recovers. And Northern Illinois wins it with Yaz. Greg's through ball goes awry. Greg is a player that is great one-on-one. They love her on the flank. And that's why you see her early off the bench for Northern Illinois. We're still scoreless, 14.5 minutes until the half. Quarterfinal of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Number 1 Ball State, number 8 Northern Illinois. McNitt sinks, defending Yaz. Combination and step up by White, but it's still through. Here's Sarver. She centers it. Shot on for Chope, and she misfires.
Sarver has such good vision. She didn't have the shot attempt. She decided to pass it away, but she could have turned around, and if she did beat 2 defenders, that would have been a crucial shot, and Heinze would have had to work, but Sarver has great vision. She attacks, and that time elected to pass it off. But Northern Illinois, you have to like what you're seeing because they're pressing against Ball State's back line.
You see the rotation that anytime Sarver's on the ball, there's a shadow behind the on-ball defender for Ball State. Zisweiler defended on that last opportunity with Pooley shadowing along with Lorena White.
Would have been a tough shot for Sarver had she decided to elect and go for the shot. A smart move to give a better shot opportunity.
We've seen with the sloppy conditions, it doesn't really matter what angle you're at. Emily Scott's goal against Toledo. Just get it anywhere on frame, you give yourself a chance. Shot opportunities have been sparse for both teams in the first half. Just 2 for Ball State, 1 for Northern Illinois.
That's surprising considering Ball State does lead the Mid-American Conference in shots, but 314 throughout the course of this season. The season high of 34 against Miami of Ohio, so it continues to compile. But Northern Illinois' strength is their defense. This is where they pride themselves on, and the defense helps set up the offense. And here today, Northern Illinois has a chance to do just that.
Coach Ross talked about how his team is an attack mentality first as far as their innate skill set from the players that he's recruited. So their focus has been defense and sinking back and playing stronger on the back line. And then with that natural ability, he hopes that goals will come and pushing forward after defending.
And so far that offense hasn't rolled and carried over yet for Northern Illinois, but the defense has been there. It's been strong. Some more action and aggressiveness by Ball State and Northern Illinois.
Ball State moving downhill on the counter. And a long touch from Campbell gets away.
A great first touch by Campbell there, but the second touch trying to make that run toward the goal was just a little bit long, and she couldn't find Abby or split 2 defenders.
Cummings in the midfield. Greg chips it to Yaz. step from Elias. Now Yaz, not through Lorena White. Emily Scott waiting at midfield to check in for the Cardinals. Ingham on the tackle. And a great step from Mattingly. All the way over from her left side. Let's see if Ball State can distribute here. Now here's Wendlandt. It's been very simple on the back line for Northern Illinois. Just one touch and get it out of there. That's limited Ball State to their 2 shots.
Northern Illinois knows that if they dance around with the ball too long, somebody for Ball State will come in, scoop it up, and take it toward the goal. So Northern Illinois, quick passes, get it out there, push it to midfield and on Ball State's side of the field.
Really makes things easier for a center back. You have to be less decisive. We're 10 minutes until halftime. We haven't checked in with Alex Thomas yet. What's going on down there, Alex?
Thanks, guys. The conditions as well as the physical play has been a huge storyline so far. Both teams being very aggressive. We saw Gabby Veldman go down with an injury earlier, was able to remain in the game, but it's definitely playing a factor as well as these slippery conditions. One thing to look out for, Ball State in games against Bowling Green and Toledo last time we were here on ESPN3 scored goals in the last 3 minutes of the half. So a prime opportunity here for the Cardinals as we come down here into the last stretch of this first half.
Thanks, Alec. Mick.
And Alex brought up a nice point about the goals coming late in the half for Ball State. It's a team that likes to press late in the half. Lorena White pushing up from her center back position up to Emily Scott, Sam Campbell. We've seen it time and time again. It worked to perfection, and the problem is defenses get lackadaisical with only 50 seconds left on the clock, and that's when Lorena White says, okay, I'm pushing up. Let's make this opportunity happen.
Perhaps the thinking of Coach Roberts right now, sending Emily Scott to midfield. She scored in the 45th minute against Toledo here about 2 weeks ago. Wendlandt plays long. And not pleased with herself on that cross in.
The attacking group of Abby, Campbell, and once Emily Scott checks in all at the same time, that's when Ball State has their best chance to score. And if you throw in Lauren Roll in there as well, this is where Ball State creates the problems for the defense.
Here's Campbell with the win. See if she can settle. The shot on net and through a goal. Campbell strikes again for the second time this season against Northern Illinois.
The player to watch, she's proved it well so far here today. A beautiful first touch from Campbell, finds the back of the net. Sneaky play from Campbell. It was a matter of time before Ball State's offense finally busted through the Northern Illinois defense, and it's Campbell the beneficiary.
Northern Illinois finally not able to play with one touch out of the back. And Ball State opportunistic with Sam Campbell.
And there's not much else Mackenzie Lee could do, the goalkeeper for Northern Illinois. Just a beautiful shot by Campbell.
Jubilation and some relief for Ball State. They did not score in their quarterfinal match against Akron a season ago when it went into penalty kicks. But they cracked the lid with 8 minutes to go until halftime.
It has to be a release and a breath of fresh air for those who were around last year with this Ball State team. It's definitely a new team. You don't feel that tension here today as much as last year. So Ball State, they played very particular in their shots here today, and it finally worked out with Campbell.
Well, there you go. The first one on goal finds the back of the net.
And why not bring in Emily Scott to pair with Sam Campbell to try and get one more goal before halftime? But this is now when Northern Illinois can play their direct offense down by a goal, use Sarver, and push, create that tension and that pressure back on Ball State. Time and time again, we've mentioned how Northern Illinois has only put 11 goals on the board this year as Sarver checks out of the game. And this is where Northern Illinois now has to use the rest of their offense, be more particular, and push up against Ball State.
Spoke too soon, Mick, just as you say that about Sarver. She's off for the rest of the first half, likely. Page and Haugen onto the pitch for Northern Illinois. And a missed touch by Naylor. Got the sense that it was crucial for Northern Illinois to strike first and give themselves some confidence. There's Scott challenging for Ball State. And it's a corner won by the Cardinals.
Scott and Campbell have such an impressive knack for just finding the soccer ball, pushing, and they worked well together there, nearly creating a chance. Couldn't split the two defenders, but now a corner chance. We've seen this time and time again. Ball State creates these corner chances, and with only 6 minutes to go in the first half, another chance on goal.
2 minutes after Campbell's goal, a set piece up coming from the corner for the Cardinals. High into the back post. Walton, a weak dribbler, into the lap of Lee. You said it, Mick, not much that Lee could do on the goal from Campbell, but there has been a drop-off with her starting the last 3 games compared to Amy Anala, the 2014 Freshman of the Year, who went down due to a knee injury against Buffalo.
It's always tough to come in at the end of a season, especially once Mid-American Conference play comes around, and Lee has had to do exactly that, play against the best competition going into the tournament at the most crucial of points, and Lee has had a chance to respond, and she's played well in these last couple of games, but this is where she has to stay strong, 1 goal allowed, and allow the offense to just do their work.
A run on from Gregg. Touch off the head, gets away from her. This tournament rolls through Muncie if Ball State can win today. Semifinals and finals next weekend. The host belongs to the highest remaining seed. But of course, as we've learned over the past few seasons, it never really goes as planned when the seeding comes out.
And that's why the tournament's so fun to watch unfold, is if it was as easy as it's supposed to be, the first 4 teams seeded would be the last 4 in the tournament. All match long, Northern Illinois has been in this position where they're threatening but can't finish. We saw that throughout the course of the season for the Huskies. They get in a position where they have a chance to shoot on goal, but they haven't been able to push and finish in those chances.
Both of these teams saw a semifinal in 2014. Ball State a heartbreaking loss to Buffalo in overtime. Here's Walton to Scott. Scott facing all sorts of resistance. Centers to McNitt. Now Northern Illinois on the breakout. Here's Lapriano. Wendlet with great closing speed. And McNitt wins it.
Impressive job by Wendland to come back out of nowhere to help and stop the offensive run by Northern Illinois. That could have just gave Ball State a little bit of momentum back because Northern Illinois had a chance to seize it.
And how about the roommate combination between Wendlet and McNitt? In to win the 50-50 for the Cardinals. Campbell checks 2. McNitt over the top. Here's Campbell again. This is where she was dangerous before. And it's walled away.
couple of times. Manningley, Veldman losing their footing. It seems to be in that same spot on the far end of the field where Veldman and Manningley have both fallen down a couple of times. Hasn't played a major factor as the rain is finally stopped here.
Here's Wendlandt with a strike in. Apriano dangerously looks to switch fields in the back. Cummings turns. There's Yaz. You can see why Coach Ross considers Yaz a connector. 3, 4, 5 passes sometimes when it gets to her, and then haven't been able to put anything together up top yet. 10 seconds until the half.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, we go to the half. A late first half goal from Sam Campbell has Ball State up 1-0 over Northern Illinois, number 1 seed versus number 8 seed in the first round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. You're watching college soccer on ESPN3. We're through 45 minutes at Bryner Sports Complex between the number 1 seed Ball State, number 8 Northern Illinois, opening round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. So far, so good for the Ball State Cardinals. Only 5 shots, but they were opportunistic. A Sam Campbell goal 8 minutes before halftime has Ball State in front 1-0. Connor Runyon alongside Mick Tidrow. Mick, it came down to Ball State just having more opportunities offensively in the first half.
And it finally broke through with that goal by Sam Campbell. It was bound to happen one way or another for Ball State. The Northern Illinois defense actually played a really well first half. The only reason being that Sam Campbell entered the game, and that was where Northern Illinois started to have problems on the defensive end. But Northern Illinois played well in the midfield. That's where they have to win in the second half. If they can do that, then that's where they need to do. And Sam Campbell, with more opportunities and chances in the second half, could be lethal for Ball State.
How do you generate more moving forward if you are Northern Illinois?
Continue to cross the fields. They work well one way to another, but they can't finish on goal. That's where the problems have lied. Taylor Sarver has been the player they've leaned to get to that point, but they haven't been able to do that so far in the first half.
Down to Alex Thomas on the sidelines.
Thanks, guys. Alyssa Heinschel has been an absolute force in the net. She leads the MAC with 6 shutouts, and we've talked a lot about the defense for the Cardinals, but it really helps that if anyone is able to get past that back four, Alyssa Heinschel is right there. 14 games played, and she's putting together an excellent season. But she's also putting together an excellent career in the classroom, not just on the field.
I took an AP chemistry class in high school my junior year, and it went really well, and I had a lot of fun with it, and it was just one of those subjects that kind of clicked for me right off the bat. And a lot of people struggle in a class like that, whereas for me it was sort of natural. I really enjoyed the class, and I enjoyed learning about all the stuff that we talked about. Kind of from that point on, I started thinking, well, maybe I could do a chemistry major, and then it was, well, what do I do with that afterward? I sort of came in as a chem major, kind of unsure of what I would do afterwards, probably like a graduate school or something like that. But then I met a few people who were on the pre-med track as well, and so that sort of pushed me in that direction to double major with the chem and the pre-med. I think I like a challenge in all aspects of life. I'm a very competitive person by nature, sometimes to a fault. I kind of take it as a personal challenge, you know, to be the best that I can be on the soccer field, the best that I can be in the classroom, and sometimes I'm competitive with other people, but I would say more so I'm competitive with myself and holding myself to the highest standard possible. So it kind of carries over both in the classroom and on the field. For soccer, I mean, it's just winning that tournament championship. You know, last year was such a disappointment winning the regular season and then going down in the first round to the lowest seeded team. It was pretty disappointing, and it was a shock to us because we weren't ready to be out of the tournament yet. And so for these seniors especially, they've put in so much time, so much effort. I mean, if I ever need any motivation, I just look to my co-captain, Leah. She has put in so much work for this team, and I can tell how badly she wants it. And so one of my biggest motivators is just not letting her down and just getting her and the rest of those seniors, that championship that they deserve and they've worked so hard for the last 4 years. So that's going to be our biggest goal going forward for the season.
Ever since she's been here, even as a freshman, it was very hard not to give her a leadership role, and for a freshman to come in and take a captaincy it's pretty tough to do. But she came actually very close to doing that, and we held it off for the freshman year. But once she's gone into a sophomore year, she got the captaincy and has just been a leader ever since. Inspiration for all of the players and basically leads by example.
I think it's been kind of a season of ups and downs and sort of a test of our character of, are we going to be the team that can do it? I think we absolutely have the potential, the talent, and the heart come tournament time. It's a matter of how bought in is everybody and how much does this mean to us to, be the first team to win that MAC tournament championship, go on to the NCAAs, because no one's done it before at Ball State. So I think that's going to be our driving force to get us there and do what no team's done before.
Welcome back to Briner Sports Complex, where Ball State leads Northern Illinois 1-0 on a goal from Sam Campbell in the last 10 minutes. It is Campbell's 6th goal of the season. She now leads the team. But looking around to some other games within the MAC, as we mentioned, this is the number 1 versus number 8 seeded game. And the other game where Ball State would, if they are to win out today, would play either Western Michigan or Miami. And in that game, Western Michigan leads Miami 1-0 at halftime, out shooting Miami 7-3. Western Michigan enters the tournament as one of the hottest teams on a 7-match unbeaten streak, and right now holding that 1-0 lead over Miami. We'll be back just a little bit with second half action here on ESPN3.
Our mission is to produce programs and online content for African women as they try to build their businesses and careers. My name is Yasmin Bello Asage, and I'm a co-founder at She Leads Africa. I definitely could not do my job without technology. This Windows 10 device, the touchscreen, allows you to kind of pinpoint what you're talking about, which makes communication much easier and faster than the old Mac that I used to use. You can configure it in so many different ways. It just, I don't know, it feels really cool. I feel like I'm in the future.
You found your car on Cars.com.
I'm a robot.
Yeti. And found a place to service it, too. Now, when you're ready, you can sell your old car and find your new one, all on Cars.com. You know us for shopping, and now we're there for every turn. Cars.com.
A long trip from DeKalb hasn't deterred Northern Illinois fans from coming out here at Briner Sports Complex today, but they saw their team fall behind 1-0, much to the applause of the Ball State fans that have made it out here today. 1-0 Ball State on a Sam Campbell goal. And here's what the first half looked like. Not a lot moving toward the framework, Mick.
And the defenses for both sides are the strengths so far here in half number 1. The fouls were even. The aggressive play was something to note in the first half. Gabby Veldman, Leah Manning, Alessandra Fistrovich for Ball State. They were all pushing. They were all being aggressive on the offensive side, and that's where Northern Illinois has to become more aggressive. Use Taylor Sarver in half number 2. You see only 2 shots for Northern Illinois. Taylor Sarver, 0 of those 2 shots. She has to be able to get going. Northern Illinois has to move through her in the second half.
Not many scoring opportunities, but it was certainly physical. Ball State had a few early opportunities with Campbell with Elfbo in front of the net, and then here was Campbell's goal.
Campbell was able just to split the 2 defenders and do it all by herself. She checked into the game not too long before she made that goal, and that's where Ball State has that best opportunity, is Campbell.
A glorious strike from Campbell. It's 1-0 Ball State. Kick for the second half is coming up on ESPN3. "45 minutes for Northern Illinois to keep their season alive, trailing Ball State 1-0. Start of the second half from Briner Sports Complex. Connor Onion and Mick Tidrow with you. Mick, Ball State has to keep Northern Illinois off the scoreboard, and Northern Illinois needs to push forward and at least muster out one in the next 45 minutes.
Only 45 minutes left to decide. One of these two teams sees that Northern Illinois trails by a goal, more chances on goal. Use Taylor Sarver, push against the Ball State defense. They did that well in the middle part of the first half. It broke through. The defense for Ball State started to do what they've done all season long. That's push, win the midfield. Northern Illinois in half number 2 needs to change the field as well. Win the midfield, change from one side to the other quickly. But the problem with that is Ball State's even better than most of the teams they play in changing field and staying well on the defensive side.
Let's talk adjustments for the guy you just saw on the screen, Craig Roberts. Ball State leads 1-0, but they can still be more opportunistic.
And one of the big things is just continue to push. Use Lauren Roll, use Sam Campbell, use those players that have been able to create that push. Campbell starting here in half number 2 after scoring the 1 goal for Ball State, and that's where this team can continue to push up against this Northern Illinois defense. That's an exciting matchup to watch to see how many minutes Campbell gets here in half number 2.
That positive reinforcement for Coach Roberts continues. Score a goal, stay on the field.
And why not? Because Campbell does have 6 goals on the season, most out of anybody on this roster. She's lethal. And when she gets in open space, sometimes she gets a little too antsy with her first touch. She's best when she splits 2 defenders and has a goal on chance.
And Gabby Veldman is on the field to start the second half. Mattingly walks away with a smile, knowing that she almost got tripped up there by a sniper.
Turf monsters as well, especially with the rain here at Briner Sports Complex.
Been there. Not a good feeling. Here's Cook. A drive on net. Right idea, not the execution.
Not a bad way to start the second half if you're Ball State. Continue just to break the back defense of Northern Illinois. Separate your offense and their defense.
Yaz down the line. That won't get it done. Lorena White's there to chase it down.
That's the bigger issue for opposing offenses against Ball State is on one side you have Lorena White, the other Leah Mattingly and Gabby Veldman. If you go to one end, the other end is just as explosive on the defensive side. Against Ball State, it's hard to break down one of those sides. That's why winning the midfield is so important in switching fields, because then they have a greater chance of tiring out that back line of Ball State.
Ball State trying to get to the semifinals for the first time since 2014. Lost to Buffalo 2 years ago. Heartbreaker against Akron in the first round here last year.
Much different feel from last year, though, with this Ball State team.
Seniors, after the win against Miami on Thursday, said, we're not letting that happen again. That's been thematic throughout the year. Not again.
The only thing they want to happen again, and they did happen again, was to win the MAC regular season title, but they want more than just that this year.
Record not as good as last year by a game. 10-1 last year, 9-1-1 this season. Tangled up legs in the box. Lorena White wins it for the Cardinals. But you can make the argument that this team is much better, much more experienced than last year. Maybe not across the board, but they've certainly learned from their experience that they had in the MAC tournament last year.
And players like Emily Scott, who had last year under their belt to watch and observe as a freshman, and come in this year and have 5 goals on the season to complement with the freshman and Sam Campbell. Ball State just has new players come in, they retool, they don't rebuild.
Wide to Veldman. She gets an early test to that right knee here in the second half.
Before
the flag is up and in offsides.
Before the cross, she had a hard time planting with her right foot to get set with the left-footed shot or the cross.
That whole left side for Ball State has been banged up the past 2 years. Mattingly has played through an ankle injury. Now Veldman with the ailing right knee. We've heard Leah Mattingly say it. She'd rather pass out on the field before being pulled off by Craig Roberts. part of the reason that she's first in program history in minutes played.
And she just continues to be a workhorse for this Ball State attack and the defense. She doesn't, like you mentioned, ever want to come out of a game, and with that kind of mentality and that drive to stay in every game and play and help this team win, that's part of the reason why the veteran experience is so explosive for this Ball State team.
Mattingly shadowing Sarver. She had a frustrating first half. Here's Choke over to Ingham, who's come out in the second half with purple gloves. Bouncing ball, finally volleyed out by Mattingly. That was like a game of soccer tennis. There's Yas with a chip, weakly hit. No trouble for Mattingly.
Mattingly hasn't seen just growth in her playing ability, but also her leadership. She came into this year wanting to help out the younger players even more than she did last year. And one player that she said has really taken under her wing is Gayla Zisweiler, and that's part of the reason Zisweiler's been so successful. An international player coming in under the wing of Mattingly, getting that experience from day one, starting but also playing alongside Mattingly, the all-time leader in minutes for Ball State. And to watch Zisweiler grow, Mattingly thinks there won't be a problem once this senior class graduates because of the experience the younger players will have once they're gone.
Play in from Yaz. Dangerous for Ball State. A head on. Scramble at the 6. Sarver with a volley, and it's cleared by the Cardinals.
Nick did a beautiful job of getting in the middle of the scuffle and just getting it out and making sure nothing happens for Northern Illinois. And now in the attack, this is where Ball State's dangerous.
Guerrero applying pressure. Now a quick counter for Northern Illinois. There's Woldridge. And the wet surface favors Ball State. That was one of those plays down there in the box where you definitely hold your breath. Fortunately for the Cardinals, McNitt had a nose for the ball.
A swarm of 10 players sitting in the same spot. It was determination by McNitt to be the one to knock it out of goal.
And you see Heinz will clear her line a lot. She's very aggressive, and coming off her line as the keeper almost cost her. She can afford to do that with the stout back four that the Cardinals have. Elbow is leveled by Ingham. Elbow up with a limp. Took it right in the chest. Strong challenge from Ingham. Not legal. Now a set piece for the Cardinals with 3 players hovering around the ball. Short to Mattingly. Cross into the 6. No foot on it for the Cardinals. Opposite side, McNitt. And that's out for a Cardinals corner.
Both Zisweiler and Cook were waiting for that cross from Mattingly. It went right in between both of them. Northern Illinois was able to squeeze it out, but now Ball State, another corner chance, their first of the second half. This is the strong side, Belbin into set.
This is where in the regular season you'd hear the music blaring here at Bryner Sports Complex, but this is a quote-unquote neutral site, so it remains quiet. Guerrero back to White. Campbell for Guerrero. And Lee clears.
Nearly a perfect touch off the head by Campbell to Guerrero, just into the lap of Lee, but Guerrero was one-on-one with Lee. If the pass was just a little bit to the left, Guerrero would have had a chance.
10 minutes in, second half, 1-0 Ball State, opening round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. As we heard from Alex Thomas at halftime, 1-0 in Kalamazoo, Western Michigan over Miami. That's the 4-5 matchup. Winner gets the winner of that game. Ball State hangs on here. That semi-final is here in Muncie for each of the Final Four teams. Western Michigan with a win today would give themselves a chance to host the semifinal, but it's bleak. Top 3 seeds would all have to lose.
And how Ball State, Kent State, Central Michigan, the top 3 seeds in the tournament this year have played, it's hard-pressed to think all 3 of those teams would lose and give Western Michigan a chance to host the tournament the rest of the way, and that would favor Western Michigan in more than one way. They would host and the top 3 teams would be out, so their path to the tournament would be easier. But with Western Michigan leading, Kent State against Eastern Michigan later, and the Central Michigan Buffalo game. Central Michigan's a team that likes to press and they like to score quick.
Buffalo went to a final in 2014. So that's not a shoe-in, but with the top 4 seeds, it's pick your poison. Not really a team you can identify and say, yeah, I want to play them. Western Michigan's last year's tournament champion, 7-match unbeaten streak. Here's McNitt. And then for Ball State to beat Kent State, it took a Sam Campbell goal at the 107th minute a few weeks ago. And then a 0-0 draw with Central Michigan and Ball State.
And then on the flip side, Northern Illinois' best game of the season was against Central Michigan with that 4-0 win in which Sarver had 2 goals. That's important to look at.
So basically what you're saying is disregard all of that. Mattingly sets up for the Ball State Cardinals. Line drive right to Lee. Not one of the more promising balls in from Mattingly. Physical play from Cook. Yaz hits the floor and a set piece for Northern Illinois. In hockey, you'd get 2 minutes in the penalty box for that.
Not today for Cook. She hasn't shown much aggressiveness here today. This is really the first time we've seen her up against one-on-one with the Northern Illinois defender. She's been in the spots where she crosses it in and gives her other teammates an opportunity.
Header on, and Northern Illinois breaks through. They equalize 13 minutes into the second half. It's Taylor Sarver on the volley. 6 goals in the regular season. She pays the price getting up limping. But Northern Illinois with their 2nd goal in 8 matches.
And of course it was Sarver who finally bursted the bubble for Northern Illinois coming up Gimp, and that's something where Northern Illinois ecstatic to get that goal, but they don't want to see Sarver down anymore in this game.
Zisweiler had a chance to knock it out, but Sarver with the determination flies head first to the goal line.
And Heinchel had come off of her line, as we talked about earlier here in the second half. She came off her line just a little bit, relied on the back line of Ball State's defense to help her out, and Sarver squeaked through and past Zisweiler.
All of a sudden, some life for Northern Illinois. Game on.
was only a matter of time before Sarver had a chance on goal to get something going for Northern Illinois. It was hard-pressed to find when, though, because the Ball State defense had been playing strong all game long, and there's only been 10 shots between both teams, a goal for both sides, and so they're taking advantage of when they get inside and have those shots on goal. But Sarver, impressive once again.
Not really an orthodox opportunity either for Taylor Sarver. 50-50 situation. Reminds you a little bit of the goal Clint Dempsey scored in the 2014 World Cup against Portugal, where all it took was a shoelace to get it in the back of the net.
An abnormal goal, nothing normal about that one. Just Dempsey's just like Sarver's. And now Sarver checks out.
If you're a Ball State fan over off to our left, can't help but to be on the edge of your seat now and try to fight the thought of here we go again.
And that's natural. Tied game in the second half. Both offenses struggling to get much movement on the other side of the field. And when they do, the shots on goal aren't happening at a high rate like Ball State's seen all season long. Northern Illinois, 12 goals on the season, perhaps none bigger than the one Sarver just scored.
Can Ball State answer quickly? Cook with a left-footed strike, and she chips it. After the cross, Feldman took several seconds to get back up on her feet. Walking back, still not in the picture. She's here on the near side, just walking around. It's one on the back line for Northern Illinois. McNitt. McNitt with the touch. There's Scotts. Lee answers. That's clearly bothering Gabby Veldman. No doubt about it.
That's the second or third time we've seen her get hit down to the ground and take her time to get back up and sit back into position, but she's a challenger. She doesn't want to exit this game, especially where it stands.
Feldman with another test. Campbell. Dangerous here. Greg. Pooley pokes it away.
Typically the best chance to score another goal is right after a goal. Northern Illinois applying the pressure on Ball State's defense again. Ball State can't reel here. They can't force the issue. There's plenty of time to come back and make your way back down the field against Northern Illinois. But this, for the Huskies, an excellent chance.
The energy definitely more palpable now for Northern Illinois after their goal from Sarver moments ago. That brought us to level. Campbell ahead for Scott. Foot race is on. Elias squibs it out. Wenlant in on the right side for Cook. Veldman remains in. Surprising a little bit.
Feldman does not want to exit this game. Head coach Craig Roberts knows that Feldman is competitive and wants to help her team stay above and have a chance here on goal.
Pooley with a long touch. Ingham hammers it away. Greg, no challenge for White.
Haven't seen Lorena White play too much of a factor so far throughout the course of today's match. Look for her to play an impact in the last 25, 26 minutes of this match.
Northern Illinois has not beaten Ball State since 2010. Ball State unbeaten in their last 5 against the Huskies. All of those in the regular season. They've never played the MAC tournament. Again, Western Michigan really fortunate to be in this position. Rather, Northern Illinois fortunate to be in this position after their loss to Northern Illinois on Thursday.
This is where Ball State can change the complexion of the game with Scott in the toss and work toward the center of the field.
And Scott takes a spill.
Scott's shown her aggressiveness. Northern Illinois hasn't been afraid to do the same. And if Scott had some more open field and didn't get tripped up, it's left to wonder if she would be able to break away and have a shot on goal.
Greg fortunate not to receive a booking there. Went in high, didn't play the ball at all. Everybody except Lorena White in toward the 18. Here's the cross in. Scott on the back post. Who's it off of? Off of Northern Illinois for another corner.
Ball State corner kick.
It'll be intriguing to see if Feldman decides to go with the short pass here across it totally in toward goal and have a chance for Zisweiler, perhaps Elfbo. We've seen so many times in this position. Perhaps even Wendlandt, who's all by herself.
Not the best from Gabby Feldman. For Craig Roberts to even consider taking Feldman out.
It's one of those tough decisions because Feldman has still played a major impact. That corner we saw just a moment ago was not Feldman that we're used to seeing, but at the same time, she can change the game in any instance.
A Ball State throw and a substitution. Alex Thomas.
Thanks, guys. Sophomore Mackenzie Lee has been starting in goal today for Northern Illinois. Just her 5th MAC game of the season after junior Amy Anala went out with an injury in a late loss against Buffalo. Anala, a member of the 2014 All-MAC first freshman team, Mackenzie Lee has come in, has yet to win a game in goal, but putting together a nice performance. 6 goals have been scored against her so far, but so far against Sam Campbell and Emily Scott, some top offensive weapons in the MAC, she's done an excellent job.
8 shots, only 1 goal for Ball State on Mackenzie Lee. The flip throw from Scott, really the only opportunity that Lee has had against a hard challenge from Ball State was the goal from Sam Campbell.
And that was still a difficult play for Lee to even make against Campbell because of where Campbell placed the ball in the back of the net, a tough play. And Lee has put together a nice performance today. Only those 8 shots against her, so she hasn't had too much workload back there compared to what other teams against Ball State have had to try and do. But at the same time, that's a big credit to this Northern Illinois back line.
McNitt dumbfounded how that wasn't a free kick awarded to Ball State. And it is. That's why.
Took the referees a couple of extra seconds to make that call, but McNitt was aggressive before she was tripped, and Northern Illinois was looking for the same thing McNitt finally got for the free kick.
Over the top. And Lee not challenged again. Goal kick. Ball State fans don't like it.
We haven't seen Lauren roll here in half number 2 for Ball State. It'll be interesting to see if head coach Greg Roberts decides to bring in Roll alongside with Campbell and Scott to see if they can push and create some more chances on goal to score, just because of where this game has stood. The balance of it, the back line for Ball State has held strong after that goal by Northern Illinois, so maybe they decide to go with more pressure and offense.
We'll put together a few good combinations in the first half. A little bit surprising. Walton slices between the defense. Scott drives in. Scott had a good look, but denied.
After the goal by Sarver, Ball State has played much on the side of Northern Illinois, so it has that feel of when will it happen, when will that goal break through for Ball State. And with the pressure they're starting to apply, especially Lee in goal for Northern Illinois, she has to stay on her toes because the rest of this game could be in the hands of Ball State.
Scott rifles it in. Here's Campbell with a seam, and the first touch got away from her. Campbell wants that one back.
The first touch just got away from her too long, couldn't recover. A nice shot by McNitt to come up and try and clean it up, but Lee just right there playing at a good position for Northern Illinois.
Not much harmony for Ball State here in the second half.
Even though they've had the ball on Northern Illinois' side, it seems like Northern Illinois has a little bit more upbeat. There's more tempo with Northern Illinois on offense, and that's with Sarver not in the game right now.
And the rain, not an excuse. It has evaporated since early showers just before kick. Surface has dried and slowed down the pace.
And with a slower pace, you'd think that would favor Ball State because of how indirect they play, and Northern Illinois likes to play fast and use Sarver down the lines and make their runs. But now here in half number 2, it seems that Northern Illinois has taken that slower pace on the defensive side, used that to their advantage instead of Ball State fully taking that and running with it.
Cummings guilty of the foul. Short to Mattingly. Back post Campbell. Elbow there, and then a one-hop volley over the framework.
Beautiful ball by Leah. Mattingly elbowed just over top the crossbar. Mattingly's done that so many times, left-footed, right where she wanted to put it. The bounce didn't favor elbow on that shot.
She got it clean out of the air, probably a better chance. She struck up rather than down on the ball. Here's Elfbo. Elfbo downhill. Magdalias, but then Willis clears for Northern Illinois.
That took a Ball State bounce right into a corner situation. It looked as if it would go out of play past the sideline, and a toss in for Ball State, but now a corner kick. Keep an eye on Kelsey Winland, who's been by herself. No Northern Illinois defenders around her, to see if Ball State decides to pass it into her, and it's not Gabby Veldman in here.
McNitt, could this be the winner for the Cardinals? Slips past the back post pass, Walton. Greg ran it down for Northern Illinois, not realizing that it hadn't touched anybody in the box. It's awarded a Northern Illinois throw.
It slipped by every single player on Ball State's roster, it seemed like, as it went down the line and out of play.
Scott touches it out. And now we see Sarver back for Northern Illinois. So they survived a 10-minute stanza without Sarver, who scored the goal to equalize. And now they likely look to put their foot on the gas and move ahead by a goal.
That might have been the best time to take Sarver out after the goal, let the defense reset for Northern Illinois, and now ramp it back up the offensive pace. But the ball's been on Ball State's favor so far in half number 2. Northern Illinois hasn't been able to possess it, but that could change with Sarver in the game.
Cummings, long touch, sliding challenge into Pooley, dangerous. Play on, says the referee. Attempted Meg by Walton. Now 5 on for Ball State, including Gabby Veldman and Lauren Rolmick, who you mentioned, first time we've seen her here in the second half.
But that takes off Campbell and Scott. Gives Ball State some fresh legs, though, perhaps to make it push here with Roll, Veldman, even Guerrero and Allison Abbey. So there are 2 new goal scorers in here for Ball State, and their fresh legs, not to mention.
With all the depth that Ball State has, they may be well suited if soccer had 17 or 18 players on the field at the same time.
I would definitely favor Ball State, especially with all the scoring chances that they would have and how many forwards they could put on the field at once. But in this situation, it works out perfect because of the ability to bring 2 scorers on, take 2 off, rest the other 2 the next couple of minutes, and then perhaps bring them back on in a fresh attack in the dwelling minutes.
Similar situation to Northern Illinois' first goal. Yaz short to Willis. Feldman defends. Willis with an angle. Man, well wide.
A sigh of relief after Lauren Roll got beat. And Willis across just wide right. But now Ball State has a chance to reset. They can sit back, use their new players on the field, Abbey and Roll, and make a push.
Greg Roberts dissented with that call. And Northern Illinois plays on. Want can't get a touch. Just over 10 minutes to go here in regulation. In what was once a somewhat comfortable 1-0 lead for the Cardinals. Not much life from the attack for Northern Illinois. It is suddenly an equal game, despite just 4 shots from Northern Illinois.
Matchup to watch the rest of this match is Lorena White to see if she follows Taylor Sarver of Northern Illinois, if she shadows her the rest of the way, or if they go with Zissa Weiler once again, who Sarver scored the first goal off of. It'll be interesting to see who guards, or if they try to even potentially have 2 players keep an eye on Sarver.
Well, here we go. Northern Illinois corner. A good cross in from Yaz, and Northern Illinois has a potential to shock the Cardinals. Fufuzuela's blaring from the sidelines. Big moment in this match. Here it is from Yaz to the 6 and over the crossbar and to the back of the net. What's the call? Out of play.
Ball State just caught a break because it hit the top of the railing and then went down into the net, then popped back out and into the back of the net, which Northern Illinois thought they had taken the lead, but just on top.
Oh, I don't know.
And with that replay angle, it looks like perhaps that Ball State got away with one.
The action had stopped momentarily, mostly for Ball State. Northern Illinois still crashing the net. Let's see if Ball State can capitalize on the break. Fortunate for Ball State, there's no instant replay in college soccer.
That's a major break for Ball State. Now this could favor them.
Abby, walled off. Now Cook with white jerseys crashing to the net. And past McNitt. Mattingly turns the corner. And cleared. In professional soccer, of course, there is goal line technology now. But with the continuous nature of the sport, doesn't really lend itself to much replay.
There's not opportunities for challenges in soccer as there may be in other sports, especially in the college game. So a play like that really hampers Northern Illinois, and it's a game changer. It turns away the complexion of this game. Goes for Northern Illinois and Ball State. Now Ball State fortunate, they have to find a way to break through the seal of the back line of Northern Illinois.
Ingham on, Want off. Major League Baseball goes back to the replay centers in New York with the NCAA headquarters in Indianapolis. Naptown might get some love if that were the case in college soccer.
Something you don't see every day. The goalkeeper in Mackenzie Lee nearly at midfield for the free kick.
Short. No problem for Ball State. Roll off sides. And no advantage given. Roll had given up on a run.
Roll had thought she was offside immediately, so stopped exactly where she was.
Really, with advantage, that's probably the correct call because it would have been advantage Ball State.
Right.
Weiler with a short clearance. Moments like that goal that weren't for Northern Illinois are moments where your heart really starts pounding in these moments. 7 minutes to go, we're even. And the season on the line for both of these teams. First round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Sarver. Wide for Ingo. Important to play with purpose at this point. Inside 7 to go.
Last couple of minutes, we've seen both teams essentially put their foot on the gas pedal and try and move down the field as fast as possible to try and end this thing before overtime looms in the last 6 minutes here. But with how Ball State's played in the past, that's not the style that they play with. So if they slow it down, play their indirect offense like they have so often and had so much success, there's plenty of time to do that and still get a goal. And if you're Northern Illinois, this is where it could favor. Work that direct offense. Sarver's in, so it'll be interesting to see which style of play both teams lean to in these last couple of minutes. Not to mention Campbell is now back on the field for Ball State to pair alongside with Lauren Roll.
You have a chance today, if you're Ball State, to be the most successful team in program history with their 15th win. Now this may be a rhetorical question, Mick, but take it as you will. Why go away from what has worked for you?
It's difficult to say, but in this game, it hasn't worked to a T as it has in the past. Campbell did get past in the first half where the indirect offense played a factor, but that was more on a run, and Campbell did it by herself. She split 2 defenders, had her shot. So in this match, it hasn't worked out, but in the past it has.
Shope flicks it out with top spin on it. It stays in for Cook. And a throw won by Northern Illinois. An elbow down beyond the byline.
That's the second time we've seen, elbow down. Her and Veldman have taken some shots here today.
Punched up, punching the turf. Let's see what happened. Got that right foot stuck in the ground, and then the left ankle on her plant leg.
Non-contact, just her in the turf.
Could have been either side. Right or the left side. So she gets up gingerly. Oh, both a freshman from Lit Sweden getting attention of the training staff right now.
She's played so well, especially on corner chances for Ball State. Now a chance for both teams to reset, find their offense, find the defense if you're Northern Illinois, because Ball State's going to come out of this little mini timeout ready to go and try to get this goal and get back on top.
She had that terrific goal against Bowling Green. A header on the corner. Clock does stop. No injury time at this level. And we resume. With elbow still out there. A little surprising.
Almost like with Veldman, a competitor doesn't want to come off the field.
McNitt with a physical play on the more physical Wooldridge. Cook into the 6, on frame, but easy chance for Lee.
And
probably a more sage play there to cross it in rather than put it on net.
And Cook's done that a couple of times this year where she has those shot chances from far out. Nothing going on the middle of the field for her to cross it in. But to go back to your question about should Ball State try to go more direct than indirect and go away from what's worked in the past but hasn't today. It does take some time in instances where Ball State later in games finally breaks through with the indirect offense.
Campbell plants it to the turf. Coach Ross for Northern Illinois talked about how his team, despite their struggles and not winning a match in the past seven outings, they've come together defensively. It's been the attack that's been the issue. And a few plays here or there, and they could have won all 7 of those matches. McNitt with a strike over the crossbar. Before the goal kick for Northern Illinois, Alex.
Thanks, guys. A couple score updates from around the MAC tournament. All of the top seeds have won. Western Michigan defeating Miami 1-0. Central Michigan over Buffalo with a score of 1-0 as well. And then finally Kent State over Eastern with a score of 2-0. So if Ball State is able to come out with a victory, they will host next weekend. If not, it looks to be headed towards Kent State.
Dream pairing that we talked about, Mick. Potential top 4 teams all advancing, but Ball State, they're on the ropes here.
Northern Illinois looks to break that trend so far here today.
Heard Alex say it, if Ball State can't break through, semifinals to be hosted at Kent State with their win. Here's a run for Greg. Chope can't control. Final 2 minutes. Pooley, well, 1 out of the air. It's a game of ping pong right now in the attacking third for Northern Illinois.
And they're moving fast. Northern Illinois is going quick passes, get the ball, make Ball State run around, especially in this somewhat still slippery conditions as we saw with Elbow and we've seen with Veldman and Mattingly so far, especially in the first half, but in the second half it's played a factor also.
Elias fends off Scott, trickling toward the corner and out for a throw. Again, both of these teams looking to erase painful memories. Northern Illinois hasn't beaten Ball State since 2010. That would all change with a win here in their first quarterfinal matchup ever in the MAC tournament.
For Northern Illinois, you have to be careful because this is when Lorena White has showed with a short amount of time left in a game and the defense potentially lackadaisical, where she takes it on one side and runs right down the field, but Northern Illinois looks to have different plans. They're possessing.
Well, here's Northern Illinois' opportunity. 30 seconds to go. Knotted at 1. Winner on to the semifinals. It's in from Yas. Ten seconds. Mattingly flicks it out. This game looks to be destined for overtime.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And it is, for the second straight year, the 1 versus 8 matchup headed to extra time. A second half goal from Taylor Sarver for Northern Illinois has given the Huskies a chance to steal one here today in Muncie.
And it's been Northern Illinois and the relentless attack they had in half number 2 to apply that pressure and score that goal with Taylor Sarver. The first half was mostly dominated by Ball State. The second half, in the early part, by Northern Illinois. The last part of the second half, you have to think that Ball State started to push away or pull away with the momentum, but it was stolen right back by Northern Illinois, and it was a chess match after that.
So we move on to extra time. Ball State, Northern Illinois, winner on to the semifinals. Coming up next here on ESPN3. Well, it's supposed to be a little bit adverse this time of year, right? Number 8 Northern Illinois has pushed Ball State to extra time here in the first round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament here in Muncie. Connor Onion alongside Mick Tidrow. Alex Thomas has been down on the pitch all afternoon long. Mick, here we go again. Ball State faced Akron last year, lost in this scenario when it went to penalty kicks. Ball State would like to take care of it in the first 20 minutes before it gets to that point this time.
And from last year, the difference mostly is Akron and Ball State, no score throughout the course of that game. And then here today, both teams do have a goal, so that's something to keep an eye on for the momentum.
And it's the most exciting overtime format in soccer, golden goal. 1 goal and you're through to the semifinal.
But then that elusive penalty kicks and the danger that brings after 2 overtimes if nobody has scored and taken that and run away with the semifinals. But it's been an impressive performance by both defenses.
There was the goal from Sam Campbell. That had Ball State feeling pretty good going into the half, and then no real establishment of domination by either team in the start of the second half until Northern Illinois finally got a goal from Taylor Sarver on a 50-50 at the 6-yard box.
She just got past Zisweiler. It was one of those chances where it was 50-50 like you mentioned. It was either Zisweiler and then the no goal perhaps, but it was almost a goal for Northern Illinois. It was deemed out of play and then brought back into play. And so with that and the factor that played in here in the second half, that's why we're in overtime right now. That not being a goal, changing the complexion.
Ball State
now
very
we're in overtime.
fortunate. Ball State very, very fortunate.
And now with that, they can use that, turn these 10 minutes into theirs. Northern Illinois pushed in that second part of the second half. And now they have a chance to settle in, use Sarver. They can play direct all they want. They can stay within their offense. They have 10 minutes with 2 halves. Potentially their back line has been stellar all game long as it has much of the season. So it's really Ball State's offense that needs to find a way to click here in this overtime period.
What kind of pressure do you feel if you are Ball State as the number 1 seed?
The more and more this game wears on, that pressure continues to build that it did as it did last year and going into penalty kicks with Akron. So if you're Ball State or even Northern Illinois, find a way to get some chances early on in this overtime. Don't prolong this as long as it needs to go. Finish this off as soon as you can.
A bit of a sinister feeling after what happened last year. Here we are again in overtime after back-to-back Mid-American Conference championships in the regular season for Ball State. The advantage in shots through 90 minutes to Ball State. 12-4. Here's Campbell, who has the only goal for Ball State. Long touch gets away.
Beautiful first touch by Campbell, but that second touch then bounced around, and finally when she had it on the bounce, she knocked it out of play.
This would be a breakthrough moment for Northern Illinois to steal this one. They haven't won the tournament title since the 90s. Here's Scott. And just out of reach.
That seems to be the way the second half has played, just out of reach for Ball State. They've had some good chances. They just haven't come through. And you have to credit Mackenzie Lee in goal for Northern Illinois. She stayed within herself. The back line for the Huskies is helping her out as well, but she stayed calm and hasn't wavered so far today.
Northern Illinois has not won in their last 7 matches. Ball State had an unbeaten streak that was snapped at Ohio that lasted 10 matches. Night and day between the 2 regular seasons for both of these clubs. But here they are, tied 1-1, when it counts the most. Here's Scott. That back line has been stifling for Northern Illinois. Led by 2 freshmen.
Coach Roberts for Ball State is elected to go with his offense and Campbell and Scott, the two best scorers on this team. A freshman in Campbell, sophomore in Scott, against those two freshmen for Northern Illinois. So it's a battle of the younger players here on the pitch.
Zisweiler, we saw her score from this range on Thursday. Leaves it for Scott. And nobody running to the 6 for Ball State.
A couple of weeks ago, Northern Illinois against Toledo went to double overtime. They eventually lost in the 103rd minute.
Elbow quickly gobbled up by Lee.
And that was due to the fact that the defense and the back line finally broke of Northern Illinois. Toledo was able to bust through, and Ball State's looking to do just that here in overtime.
Win or go home. Golden goal. First overtime here from Muncie. Northern Illinois seeking their first win since October 2nd. We're just a day shy of Halloween. White had a notion of Cook on the right flank. On the strong individual one, and she's won a set piece for the Cardinals.
The first time we've seen White move from her normal defender position up toward the side of Northern Illinois. This could favor Ball State if White is mixed into the offensive side just a little bit more here in the overtime instead of playing more in the back as she has all match long.
She has that touch on a string, always tight to her foot. The only thing Northern Illinois could do was dive with Ingham. Here's the cross. Back post off the woodwork. Mattingly just missed, sending Ball State through.
Incredible shot by Mattingly just to get close to the goal, but hit off of the bar. And Mattingly immediately grabbed her face in disappointment, but so close. Ball State is right there on the cusp. The offense continues to push against Northern Illinois.
Here's another look.
It wouldn't be the first time that Mattingly's done that this season. Impressive strength from Mattingly.
Halfway through the first overtime. Ball State seeking the right to host the semifinals on Friday. Elfbo with real estate. Mattingly turns into a midfielder. Mattingly closed off by Willis. Skillful defending from the left back. The right back, rather.
Willis, an excellent job of going one-on-one against Mattingly. Mattingly, more often than not, wins those battles, but Willis instead wins that and sends it back toward Northern Illinois' way. And head coach Roberts for Ball State had talked about the first time these two teams met in the regular season, how testy that game was and how much it tested the character of Ball State and the stamina of the Cardinals' offensive attack. Ball State eventually winning that one 2-0, but Roberts knew that was going to be a tough game, and Northern Illinois has brought that right back to the dish here today.
Campbell on a run. Lee secures it. There have really only been two scares for Lee. One the goal from Campbell, and then two just a few moments ago on the missile off the right foot of Leah Mattingly. Other than that, she's been assertive. Scott. cuts back. Surveys. Cross in. Cook just missed.
Scott broke through 2 defenders and either had a shot or a pass, elected to go with the pass, and Cook was just right there. And Ball State continues against this Northern Illinois defense. They're breaking through, they're getting their shots on goal, but they just haven't been able to finish, and Cook just comes up short as she runs into the pole before she can grab it against Lee.
We welcome in viewers from across the Mid-American Conference. Only game going on right now after all of the top seeds have gone through across the MAC. Winner here between Northern Illinois and Ball State get Western Michigan. The 38th minute goal from Sam Campbell for Ball State, and then a 58th minute goal from Taylor Sarver. The 2 tallies in this one. First overtime, 1.5 minutes to go. It is golden goal. First team to score is through. If it's not decided in 2 10-minute overtimes, we're on to penalty kicks. A place that Ball State was a year ago against Akron and fell 4-3 in PKs. Northern Illinois had a chance with 10 minutes to go. Had a goal waved off. Skidded across the crossbar. Initially ruled out of play. But upon replay, Ball State probably got a break. Cook had to go. It finds Campbell. Nobody's there but Elias, the center back for Northern Illinois. Feldman, who's played injured throughout the afternoon. Mattingly looking for Scott. Lee skips out of the air and grabs it. She hasn't played like somebody who's playing in just her 5th match today.
Now, Lee has been impressive. She's moved left to right very well. She hasn't had too many of tough plays to make, but when she has, she's stepped up to the occasion.
Final 10 seconds of the first overtime. And with that, we'll switch sides of the field and bring you the second 10-minute segment. Northern Illinois, Ball State tied, opening round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Northern Illinois again looking to bust the bracket, be the only lower seed to win today.
There will be one more 10-minute overtime period.
Mick, there in the first overtime, what'd you see from Ball State?
Northern Illinois definitely did their homework against the Ball State offense. Ball State was able to create the pressure. They weren't able to finish in that first overtime, and that's where Northern Illinois had the advantage.
We go to the second overtime after this. Ball State, Northern Illinois, quarterfinal of the MAC tournament on ESPN3. Buckle in, second overtime, Northern Illinois, Ball State. Ball State, the 1 seed, looking to fend off the 8 seed Northern Illinois. Connor Runyon, Mick Tidrow with you on ESPN3. Some would say deja vu for Ball State. They're looking to erase that thought after their loss a year ago to the 8th seed.
Essentially most of the pressure against Ball State coming into today. Northern Illinois playing with that what do we have to lose mentality, and they've sure put and stayed up to the test of Ball State.
Chope. Out to Ingham. Cross in for Cummings. Nearly got a head on it, but it's wide to the right. Again, every other match in the first round of the Mid-American Conference Tournament has gone final. Western Michigan is through. Central Michigan is through. Number 2, Kent State is through. Ball State undefeated against Northern Illinois since 2010. Mattingly tangled up with Ingham, and a free kick awarded to the Cardinals. Mattingly says, get out of here.
Ball State starts this second overtime, how they ended the first with Campbell and Scott in. Cook as well. Elbow has stayed in the game along with Feldman, so the roster not changing from one overtime to the next. It will be interesting to see if Coach Roberts uses Lauren Rowland, Allison Abbey on a switch any partway through this overtime, or if he decides to stay with his formidable attack.
Scott veers in, but the layoff for Campbell is wide. Plenty of adulatory praises for Ball State from John Ross, the head coach for Northern Illinois, but he said they weren't scared coming in today. Here's Campbell on a flick, not enough velocity.
She couldn't get her foot on it. Moore hit it with her knee, and it didn't give any power to it. And Lee easily scooping it up, but Campbell in the right place, just could not find her footing to get her foot on it.
Campbell's really been the only offensive player for Ball State today that has had a clean opportunity, and another one could be upcoming here for Leah Mattingly. Just missed in the first overtime on a strike from the left angle from 30 yards out.
Physicality. Campbell took a shot to the back of the head.
Naylor nailed her. Here it comes from Mattingly. The strike on net. Ball State nearly stole it. Lee punches it out.
Lee has moved so well here today, and Mattingly with her second major chance. Have to continue to credit this Northern Illinois back line. They haven't been afraid against Mattingly, but nearly a perfect shot. Lee seemed to know exactly where that one was going.
Looking for the upper 90. Had her wall set up perfectly. Only opportunity for Mattingly to slide it in there. Now Feldman taking the corner. It's through to the 6. And it's meandered out by Northern Illinois. Campbell through. Bodies at the net. There's Cook, there's Scott and Mattingly, and none of them can get a shot on goal.
It almost looked like Cook and Scott looked at each other and saw who would take it before the other one did, and that gave Northern Illinois just enough of the chance to kick it out and reset their own offensive attack. That was a great chance for Ball State to get that goal that they need, but Northern Illinois' defense, sneaky once again, holds on.
A collective sigh from the Ball State fans here at Bryner. Halfway through the second overtime. One goal will get it done. Winner on to the semifinals. Here's Scott where she's potent. And Naylor plays it out for another Ball State corner.
Ball State corner kick.
Coming in from the right, it's Mattingly.
Mattingly has been so good on these touches, whether it's from 30 out the corner. She's nearly played it perfect every time. It just hasn't bounced their way.
Who will Western Michigan get? An iterative opportunity now for Ball State. Mattingly again. Through to Lee. She tumbles to the ground and rips it out of the air. Some kind of resolve for Lee, the backup all season long, has kept Ball State off the scoring sheet since the 38th minute.
She came to play today, much to the dismissal of Ball State's offensive attack.
Greg Roberts directing the Ball State formation. And they push forward and sneak one in here in the second overtime. Campbell, a promising run. Long touch. She's through. The shot to the upper 90 skids off the crossbar. Campbell had nearly done it for Ball State. Looking for her second goal, but we play on.
The last time Campbell was able to break away and have a free run almost all by herself, she scored the only goal for Ball State. Had it once again just over top the crossbar. Lee seemed to be in place if it was punched lower, but once again Campbell, that's when she's at her best in free space and just running up the field. Northern Illinois has to be able to contain her over this final 3-minute stretch.
That crossbar has gotten some work here since the first half. Cooley up to Veldman. Of course, Northern Illinois had a chance to go ahead 2-1 on a ball played off the crossbar that was ruled out of play. Northern Illinois played through the whistle and looked like they had a goal scored. Instead, Ball State got a break. Here's Cook. Cook with a strike over the nets.
Cook was all by herself, seemed to double clutch and pull back before she let it go. That gave a Northern Illinois defender just enough time to sneak over and get in the way of Cook before the shot was released. A little bit of a hesitation, then she let go.
Plenty of space though. Potentially desperation time for Ball State once it goes to penalty kicks. It's really a coin flip. They don't want it to get that far. Northern Illinois will take it.
Ball State has preached, control what you can control and don't let it go to those situations. Win it when you can. That's what they look to do in the final minute 30. But now, if Northern Illinois can find just enough of a crevice on the offensive side, but Ball State's defense hasn't broken ever since they gave up the goal.
Approaching the final minute. Number 1 Ball State, number 8 Northern Illinois. The bottom seed looking to be the second straight 8 seed to beat the number 1. Scott turns, Pena clears. Everything here in the second overtime moving Ball State's way. Few close calls for Lee. Goalkeeper for Northern Illinois, but she has been terrific. Let's have the back four for Northern Illinois. Lone goal from Ball State from Sam Campbell in the first half. Serena White pushes it forward. Cook to the back post. Nobody there for Ball State. Veldman punches it out, and we have reached the 22nd mark here in the second overtime.
Northern Illinois has to be pleased with the defense and how they have played here today. The back line has been stellar against this Ball State offensive attack. There's been 17 shots for Ball State, but the defense, Northern Illinois, has done all over it.
Deja vu, we go to penalty kicks for the second straight year for Ball State as the number 1 seed. 1-1 through 2 overtimes. Best of 5 penalty kicks coming up. Ball State lost to Akron 4-3 last year, facing this same situation that they had against Akron for the first time.
Last year, no score between both teams. Here today, 1-1. Both teams have something on the scoreboard, but there has to be some of the same feeling around right now. Northern Illinois came in with that attitude of we don't have much to lose. Here today, being that 8th seed, they've put it in Ball State's court. The Cardinals went up early. Northern Illinois stormed right back in. What has to be noted in those overtimes is Ball State's offense was right there. They had those opportunities. They had those chances to get into the goal, but they fell just short, a couple off the crossbar, and Northern Illinois is sitting in a position where it doesn't hurt them.
Taking a look at the other scores throughout the Mid-American Conference today, here's how it shook out. Central Michigan and Kent State. That'll be a fun one in the semifinal on Friday. And the opponent for Western Michigan to be determined in penalty kicks. So we talked, Mick, about how usually bracket doesn't stay true to form. We could have the first test of that here in PKs.
All the other teams, the better seeds, or the higher seeds going into the tournament, Kent State, Central Michigan, Western Michigan, up to this point, and now it's the 1 seed challenged once again back-to-back years in Ball State here at Briner Sports Complex. And Ball State has the advantage coming in because of a home match. They haven't lost at home very often. They're a good home team, and so now it's up to Alyssa Heinchel to play well here in this penalty corner, or these penalty kick chances for Northern Illinois.
In this spot, do you want to go first, or would you rather be the second team?
It seems to be an advantage to go second just to see what the other team does. It's almost like in college football when you have the overtime and the first team goes, they either score, get a field goal, or a touchdown. In this situation, if Ball State goes first and scores, Northern Illinois knows that they need to score to get things back up at even.
So it may come down to the reactions of Mackenzie Lee in net for Northern Illinois and Alyssa Heinchel in net for Ball State. Be interesting to see who both of these teams run out there. Last year, Leah Mattingly, she had hers blocked, as Ball State lost 4-3 last year to Akron. Best of 5. If we need more than 5, we'll advance on past that. But it is sudden death, just like we saw in overtime, but nobody able to break through.
Mackenzie Lee for Northern Illinois, 17 shots against her for Ball State. She held true on 16 of those. The only one that went in against Sam Campbell, but Lee impressive once again. She has come in, filled the void in the last couple of matches inside the MAC, and now here today, we can't speak enough of how well she's been able to play against Ball State's offense.
Well, she'll likely see 5 more.
Without today is gone, it probably will, and it'll push all the way up to the end.
Who knows? We could see 11. Every player on the field could take one. So at the coin toss, it was decided that it will go off to the goal to the right, opposite of the goal that Ball State lost on last year. Not sure if there was any superstition there, but that's how it shakes out.
So Ball State gets to see what happens with Northern Illinois, to see what the Huskies do and how they should counter. And Alyssa Heinchel has been stellar all season long. Ball State turns to her once again.
No pressure for Northern Illinois. They're the bottom seed in the tournament. They have a backup sophomore goalkeeper. The onus is on Ball State to take this one and move on. They have the veteran keeper in Alyssa Heinchel that's been a 3-year starter. They're back-to-back Mid-American Conference champions. And they have the right to host if they can move on. It's Allie Ingham to take the first PK for Northern Illinois. Ingham, the junior, with just 1 goal on the season. Lines up. And saved by Heinzel, but threw into the back of the net. She guessed right. Couldn't hang on.
Perhaps the slippery conditions still from the turf playing a factor as it went right off of Heinzel's hands into the net. And Northern Illinois with the advantage.
Would have been big for Ball State to stop that first one. Best of 5 here in PKs. It's really a guessing game at this point for each keeper. And even when you do guess right, as we saw there, no guarantee. Abby. Saved by Lee. An eruption from Northern Illinois. Advantage Huskies. How about Mackenzie Lee?
She has come in against all odds and played her heart out here today. And it's given Northern Illinois a hefty chance against the heavyweight.
Taylor Sarver, who scored the lone goal for Northern Illinois. Past Heinzel. How about Sarver? Just a sophomore. Couldn't find the back of the net at all last year. Has found the back of the net twice. Now a senior with her career on the line, Lorena White. Easy chance for White. Cardinal fans can breathe again, but still down 2-1. Now it's Natalie Yaz. Alyssa Heinzel has to stop at least one to give her team a chance. The freshman, upper 90. Lee, who has been superb in net, waiting for Monica Padilla. Padilla, just a freshman. With a critical penalty upcoming. And it's through. Not great placement, but had Lee leaning to her left.
The first time Padilla checks into the game, she makes it count for Ball State. And now it's up to Heinzel.
Now Pena, the 3-year starter. Heinzel saves it for Ball State. Could that be the turning point? The captain in a huge spot for the Cardinals. And now another first-year player, Paula Guerrero. And another Spaniard. And she has done it for the Cardinals. Through 4 penalty takers, we're tied at 3. From here on out, sudden death. A slow stroll up to the 12-yard mark for Haley Cummings. Now her career depends on this. A strong athletic substitute from Spring, Texas. Looking to shock the 1 seed. Inside the post. Well struck. So here is the season for the Cardinals. Another first-year player, Yela Zisweiler, one of their other international players from Switzerland. Northern Illinois has stolen it. Jubilation for Northern Illinois. Gut-wrenching for the Ball State Cardinals. The 8th seed is on to the semifinals. We're back after this on ESPN 3.
Thank you for your attendance this season at the Bryner Sports Complex. Please travel safely.
You should have showed the team your dad's video.
That's okay. Next week he'll kick it in. He'll kick it in. You gotta go get Mackie a kiss.
Exceptional theater here today at Bryner Sports Complex. It ends in penalty kicks, 4-3 in favor of the 8th-seeded Northern Illinois Huskies. No question about it, the star today for Northern Illinois was fill-in goalkeeper, the sophomore Mackenzie Lee. Alex Thomas is with head coach John Ross and the star Lee.
Here with Coach Ross as well as Mackenzie Lee. Unbelievable come from behind win. And Coach, let's start with you. How do you prepare your team when you come in as such an underdog, an 8th seed against a 1? How do you prepare your team?
Well, I think it's the MAC conference. So between 1 and 12, there's not much difference. And every game we've played this year has been a hard-fought game against a very tough opponent, and no different today.
And after going down 1-0 against a very tough defense, how was your team able to respond and get on the score sheet and take it so deep?
Yeah, they just had the belief that they're going to get it done. And coming out of halftime, they had a great energy and, put the ball in the mix and just went up and flicked it, and Taylor ran through it.
And then going to penalty kicks, obviously a very intense situation. What do you say to your team before you enter penalty kicks?
We were already prepared for the situation, so they knew what was happening, and just go up there, know where you're going to go, and put it there. And then Mackie, obviously, huge saves. And, that's what we expect from her. She does it in practice, and now she's showing it out here.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Mackenzie, to you, coming in, hadn't started most of the season, come in for an injured keeper. What is it like to be in this situation? What does that win mean for you?
It's really big because we push each other in practice. Amy and I were good competitors. We love to push each other, and obviously I was very sad that she got hurt, but it was time for me to step up, and I did my best. I continued to push it at practice. My team supported me, my coaches supported me, and so I was ready for the moment.
And after letting a goal get in, how do you let that escape from your mind as you move forward throughout the rest of the game?
You got to know that everybody makes mistakes. Unfortunately, as a keeper, it shows more, and so you just got to think about we have the rest of the game to finish, and you have to rely on your team and know that you're going to step up and make the next save, and your team's going to step up and get that goal for you.
And for you entering penalty kicks, it's extreme pressure, especially as a keeper, like you said. How do you prepare mentally each and every time you step into the net, knowing you could give your team an opportunity to win?
I just trust my training, and I trust that I just have to be confident, and the pressure's on both of us as the keepers and as the shooters, and just trust my reactions.
All right, thank you very much, and congratulations again on the win.
Thanks, Alex. Down there with Mackenzie Lee and Coach John Ross. Jubilation for Northern Illinois. Heartbreak for Ball State. For the second straight year, they fall in penalty kicks in the first round as the #1 seed, Mick.
A tough loss for Ball State, but Northern Illinois came to play here today. They had the underdog status. They took that, ran with it. They had nothing to lose. They had everything to gain, and they put that on display, and now they're headed to Western Michigan to play.
Madness carries the day once again in the Mid-American Conference Tournament. #8 seed beats the #1 seed, Ball State. All the other seeds stay true. The top 4 seeds outside of Ball State onto the semifinals on Friday. This Mid-American Conference Tournament quarterfinal match was produced by the students of Ball State Sports Link. For our director, Corey Stace, Alex Thomas on the sidelines, and Mick Tidrow here in the booth, I'm Connor Onion saying so long from Muncie, Indiana. The final score in penalty kicks, Northern Illinois 4, Ball State 3. To watch this entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to ESPN.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This is ESPN.